What's up, Unphazed family? We at it with another episode. On this very, very, very special episode, we have a Harlem Globetrotter dunk specialist known for his high-flying dunks and showmanship. The winner of the 2018 Dark Horse Dunk Competition during Final Four weekend, a semifinalist in the 2018 ESPN College Slam Dunk Competition, the first NCAA Division III basketball player to be fully featured in two video games, NBA2K and NBA Live, a 2020 ESPYs honorable nominee for Can't Stop Watching Moment of the Year, inducted into the Tuckahoe High School Basketball Hall of Fame in 2021, and a Goodwill Ambassador and award-winning mixed media artist using sports equipment to create an impactful artwork that includes viral pieces of his family and some amazing cultural icons branded as Art of an Athlete. So make sure you guys go check that out. On this episode, we have no one other than my brother, Maxwell Pearce. Let's do it.
I'm unfazed, yeah, I'm unfazed. I'm unfazed, yeah, I'm unfazed. I'm unfazed, yeah, finna stack this paper. I'm unfazed, yeah, finna stack this paper. I'm unfazed.
Yeah. Eden, you didn't want to clap, E? You can't clap. This a big one, E. There we go. Yeah.
I don't know why I was delayed. Like, I'm listening for the sound, and I was like, "Oh, I can hear them."
He's like, hold up.
Now, what's up, fellas? Man, it's gonna be a good one today.
It's gonna be a good one, bro.
You for having me, man. For real.
Yeah, man. We got the one and only. The one and only.
Very intriguing. It's very intriguing. Very
the one and only, man.
Appreciate it.
Man, let's just pop it off then. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately,
pop it up, E.
Introduce yourself. You know what I'm saying? I would love to get to know a little bit more about yourself. You know, just the basic, background I was able to do based on social media IG. It's very, very, very overwhelming with, the level of content and, what it speaks to your character. But go ahead, deep dive into yourself real quick.
Yeah, bro. For sure. So, again, my name is Max Pearce. I'm a Harlem Globetrotter. I'm going into my 8th year with the Globetrotters.
Okay.
And then I'm also an artist. Early on, I kind of felt like those two spaces didn't really have a natural intersection. But the more time that I spent in the two, I realized, these are perfectly connected. Because the Globetrotters are super creative within the game of basketball, and art is literally creativity. So I felt like those naturally live together, and that's why I'm really enjoying kind of balancing the two within my life right now. But I'm from a small town in Westchester, New York, called Tuckahoe.
Tuckahoe. Yeah.
For sure, man.
Not Tuckahoe, Tuckahoe.
That's like my 90th time hearing that, and
I'm already knowing.
Every time, it never fails, bro. But yeah, so I went to Iona Prep for 3 years, played basketball there, transferred to Tuckahoe High School, and graduated from Tuckahoe. Went on to Fredonia State University, which is in Western New York. Then went from there to Purchase College. So that span of my life was probably 4 years. Yeah, 4 schools in 4 years. All of them, besides Iona, were really small schools. That kind of goes back to the theme of me coming from a place that's not really on the map, and pride in putting, where I'm from, and that's putting that small place on the map.
Man,
I know. Look, go ahead, E.
Now, I'm saying the place small, I'm not gonna let Phaz toot your horn by itself, but ultimately, I know you got like a day designated for you and all type of stuff, which we're gonna jump into. But I'm like, that's dope though, man. I can only imagine being from such a small town and being so homegrown. I know being able to be a name brand for yourself, but also could still be proud of where you came from. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure the city is more than appreciative, and you the fact that you are appreciative about your upbringing and where you come from is super dope. You know what I'm saying, to hear, bro.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I appreciate that. I definitely think a lot of my journey has a lot of the qualities that I've kind of acquired throughout this journey have come from being from a small place. I don't think, although I'm from New York, and New York is a huge
Yeah.
city. I'm not from the city. I'm
Yeah.
from a town outside of the city. And
Mhm.
so there is a different mentality when you come from Tuckahoe versus coming from New York City. So yeah, I'm super grateful for all of the experiences and the qualities that I've been able to acquire through that journey and that experience.
Yeah, I think one of the things, Max, is like talking about the journey. Like one thing we connected on really early was just like, and E, you already know this too, but just like that journey of, I say, sports, like growing up playing a sport or playing sports. And like, I know when we're younger, we like, okay, we playing this, we hooping outside, going hard. We like, we're gonna be in the NBA, we're gonna be in the NFL, grinding. And sometimes it don't end up that way, but that's not a bad thing because like we talked about, a door closed, maybe a door open. So tell me a
Right.
little about that, Max, because I know, like, of course, you wanted to, play in the NBA. If you could be in the NBA, do this, but like that didn't happen, and you end up finding these other paths and other things as well.
Yeah, so that's great. That's like that's the story of all of our lives, but I
Hmm.
definitely feel like that's the story of my life.
Hmm.
Regards to this one door closes, another door opens
Hmm.
dynamic. So I think the easiest way to explain this is through a small like series of stories. So I would start with sophomore year when I was at Purchase College. We
Yep.
were at the park. We were just playing pickup. One night we finished playing pickup and we started to try and dunk on each other. And
Hmm.
we all dunked on each other at least once. And
Hmm.
so now it's getting super duper rowdy. And so we all went for another round of trying to dunk on each other. And I dunked on one of my best friends. And I didn't know that other people were recording. So once
Hmm.
it happened, in my head, I'm like, I know it was a crazy highlight, but I didn't want to post it because I know how the internet is. And
Man.
I didn't want my boy to be on the receiving end of a crazy like, viral
You say
clip.
I ain't trying to do you like that, bro. I feel that
So
though.
for real, bro, because this is like my man 100 grand. So little did I know, somebody else at the park went home that same night and posted it on Twitter. And
Man.
that
Hmm.
was like the start of it, like kind of circulating. So wake up the next day, videos going crazy. And it got to a point where I was like, people kept asking me, like, yo, post it, or like brands and like publications were asking me, do we have, permission to post it? And so I
Hmm.
was like, I want to at least get my boy's approval, for
Yeah.
me to give him the green light for this before I start telling all these
Is
people.
it
So
cool if I just
Yeah,
let people
you a
know
good dude
I
though,
really did
Max.
that to you?
You a
yeah,
good
but
dude though.
he's a good dude because he said that this is his exact words were, yeah, bro, you never know what could come from it. And so
Yeah, that's love.
I posted
If
and
you can make
everything.
it out, you can dunk on me again.
So
Nah,
I,
for
I
real.
posted it. A week later, I got an email from Ridiculousness, which is the show on MTV,
What?
and
Hmm.
they were asking if they could use it for an episode
Wow.
with DJ Mustard. And
Uh-huh.
so at the time, my brother is like 11. I'm
Hmm.
a sophomore in college. I ain't got no money. My brother damn sure don't have any money. And
Hmm.
so I had to pull him out of school because they were like, yeah, we can't buy your flight to come here to watch the episode. But if you can get your own way here, we'll make sure that you guys have like a front row seat to watch the episode when the video is featured, blah, blah, blah. So
Hmm.
pulled him out of school, asked my parents for the money. We flew all the way to LA, got there, sit down for the episode. We watched the whole episode. They didn't use the clip.
Oh my God.
So
But
at this point, I'm like,
I'm
we both
cooked.
devastated. Like, yo, like I just pulled this kid out of school. I missed classes, came all the way out here, spent money
Wow.
for nothing. So,
Wow.
and I just felt like I felt kind of defeated. I just felt like, because again, this is my first like experience of any kind of like national exposure. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
not for sure.
dang, like in my head, I'm thinking of all these things, like what could come from, this video
Yeah.
being ridiculousness or like all of that. And
Yeah.
it didn't happen that day. So
Hmm.
I felt like the door was slammed in my face and like our time was wasted.
Not to jump in there, but when it didn't
Yeah.
happen, did they communicate? Because I mean, obviously you there, you in the front row. Did somebody like did Rob,
They,
Stilo, Michelle,
If
any of the
Rob come
producers,
up
did
say my
anybody?
bad.
say like,
So
look, we gonna get you on the next. We understand you did everything you could to get out here, but like, cause I know you
yeah,
probably like,
yeah.
dang,
So
like,
honestly, that's a good question, and nobody has really asked me that. But they don't only focus on one clip in the
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
They got like probably 100 clips per episode. So, in Rob and Stilo's mind and Chanel's mind, like they're not thinking, oh, we missed Max's clip, because for all I know, they might have missed 10 other clips.
Yeah.
So it was more sort of producers that hit me via email, and they were like, yeah, sorry, like sometimes they'll, how they like kind of riff-raff and like improv. Yeah, like like if it's a
They don't
super
got
crazy
time.
talking about, they'll like talk about it for extra 30 seconds here, extra 30 seconds there, and then it forces them to have to skip other clips. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of what happened. But either way, it didn't really help much. So 3 years later, 2019, I get a call from my aunt, and she's like, yeah, I just saw your video on ridiculousness. And in my head, I'm like kind of like blowing it off, because I'm like, oh, they probably just like did post edits and like edited the video back in and made it seem like DJ Mustard and Rob and them reacted. So I'm not paying mind to her saying that. It's a sore spot, because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this was an example.
No,
Of,
they told me
And 3 years later,
right? And 3 years later, so I'm like, yeah, no, this reminds me of when they closed the door in my face.
exactly.
So, yeah, and Kobe reacted to it, and I was like,
oh yeah,
in my head, I'm like, Kobe. And then I said to her, I'm like,
Kobe,
are
like
you
who, Mr.
sure?
Bryant, Kobe.
I'm like, are you sure you're not confusing
Bean?
Kobe? I thought she was confusing DJ Mustard with Kobe. Bro.
Kobe.
Yeah, no, the guy, yeah.
So she said, no, I know who Kobe is. And I was like, all right. And then 20 minutes later, 2 more people called me. And that's when I was like, oh, this actually might be real. So I looked, and sure enough, they saved it for 3 years for Kobe's episode. And this was like a few months before he passed. So, like to have the opportunity to have an impact on Kobe, and like for that video, to, like, the backdrop is where I grew up in Tucko. Like I grew up on that part.
Yeah.
So it just meant a million times more that it was Kobe
Blessings
and not DJ. So like that's
the day, man. Like everything happened for a reason.
For a reason.
That's for way. So we talk about it, and for the people watching, man, we gotta show the video. If it's cool with you, Max, we gotta show.
Yeah. Dunking on someone and dunking in general is just showing domination, right? This category dedicated to getting dunked on. Dunk domination. Take a look.
Wow. Oh my.
Oh, walked on air a little bit. Look at him.
Oh my. Bro, that's fire, bro.
And I just say, being a super big fan of this Rob Deerdeck, Fantasy Factory, ridiculousness, like I'm talking about, I was dedicated to the show, watching the show. So I've seen the clip before. So when Phaz first brought it to my attention, like, hey, we're gonna be interviewing, Max and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I don't know if I recall. He's like, no, bro, you seen him. You don't know you seen him, but you seen him. I'm like, for real? So then when he's like, I'm gonna just send you the page, do your research, make sure you learn a little about him, get ready to ask some questions. I'm talking about the first clip I click on. I'm like, bro, I remember this episode. I remember this clip. Like the fact that was, I'm like, the fact that that's him is crazy. I'm like, that's super, dope. That's super blessed. The fact that, you were able to, leave such an impact on somebody who will go down in the history of one of the best basketball players of all time.
Bro.
To be able to make your mark, especially, rest in peace, Kobe, but to have that impression, that's almost like a stamp of approval that you did something great that day. If everything else that already came with it didn't already say that, but that is for sure. Like,
So what did that look like after? So we went down there, nothing happened. Then you had the 3 years, and then boom, they put it on ridiculousness. So how did that change everything?
That's a great transitional question, because I'm gonna describe what happened within that time frame with another story of.
Come on.
This your show. Hey, Joe.
So that video happened. That video popped off, and although ridiculousness at the time really disappointed me, I was like, yo, I didn't realize the power of social media. I was like, this is crazy. Like I'm you know, like I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, I just can't believe that there's this many people that could see, you know, something that you created. So I was in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna keep trying to do this. I'm gonna keep trying to make, you know, more
Dunk on the next
videos.
person. Who tried to dunk?
And not even necessarily that, but just like other dunk videos in general, even if it's just, you know, me in a video. And so I spent the next maybe like 2 years, you know, building my platform in that way. And I got to my senior year at Purchase. And mind you, when I was a senior in college, throughout my whole college career, NIL wasn't a thing. So I got suspended
Wasn't
twice.
nothing for none of us, neither.
Right.
It was broke.
So I got suspended 2 times in my college career for ridiculousness. But essentially the first one was I did like a small ad for like compression sleeves that you would wear in game. And I had to write a letter basically explaining that I understood why this doesn't make me an amateur anymore. So that was the first time I got suspended. And then the second one was because my name was on a flyer for a dunk contest that was for charity. And the flyer said $10 admission. And yeah, so I had to sit one of those games that I got suspended for. But
that's crazy.
I say all that to say, my senior year rolled around. At the beginning of the year, somebody sent me an audition for a Nike commercial, and it was some basketball related Nike commercial, and the payout was like $25K, which is a lot of money in general, but definitely a lot of money for a college kid. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, would I forfeit? Because if I get that commercial, I can't play my senior year because I would literally be violating the mature rules at the time, right? So I'm like, okay, is this year worth $25,000? And in my head, I was like, for a Nike commercial, a lead in Nike commercial, yeah.
So don't go to the league right away, or if you know what I'm saying.
I wasn't going to the league. I'll tell you that right now. So that's even more of a reason why I was like, okay, I'll be okay with a lead in a Nike commercial to start this next chapter of my career, $25,000 and just forfeit my senior year. So I had like a tiny little beard, shaved my face because they needed the casting to be like clean shaven. Go to do the audition, got a call back for it, and me being such a inexperienced actor, I'm thinking that this callback means like I'm in the final 3. I'm thinking
I got it.
Next week I might get it. I get back to the callback the following week. There's still like 150 more people there for the callback. I was like, oh, okay, this is totally good. So I do the callback. They're like, unfortunately, we're not gonna take you in the next few rounds of the auditions. And I felt like again,
hit you with a draft pick. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to get you on this one.
You're running stops here. So I get to that because again, my mind is already. I'm imagining. Oh yeah, I got the 25. I got the Nike commercial. Then I'm gonna get 5 more commercials from this Nike commercial, and everything gonna blow up.
Can't cash.
Right, checks I can't cash. So I'm thinking 5 years out from a Nike commercial that I didn't even secure. So when they tell me it's a dub,
Bentley here, Ferrari, put that on layaway.
when I once they told me that it was a wrap, I felt again. I was like, dang, like they just slammed this door right in my face again. Go back to I decided to play my senior year because I didn't have to forfeit. And
I decided to play my senior year because I had so much more stuff I had to do. I'm gonna go back and play. I just chose to put my acting on the side. I'm gonna come back to that. I don't got too many times to play my senior year.
Exactly. So I play my senior year, and we get to the end of the year, and the sports information director at my school, he's like, I have a contact who has open slots for this virtual dunk contest. And if you win this virtual dunk contest, you'll get into the national dunk contest, which was the college one on ESPN. And
he said a virtual dunk contest?
So the way that it works is
same clip.
ESPN, they select 7 college basketball players, any level, any division. So
Okay.
you got players from Villanova, Texas Tech, Duke. You got NAIA, you got Division 2, you got
Oh,
Division
wow.
3. But it's only 7 out of however, million college basketball players there are. And then that
Gotcha.
8th spot, they allow the winner of this national, like, online virtual contest to get that 8th spot. And so the way that it works is in exactly like a March Madness bracket style. So each week for 4 weeks, you get matched up with another dunker, and people can vote every day for a week straight on that matchup.
Wow.
So
That's kind of lit.
Are you dunking every day, like new dunks, or you submitting
no.
just one
So
video?
you submit a like a highlight tape of your dunks. They could be solo dunks, they could be dunks in game. So I kind of put a little bit of both. And by the grace of God, like, I just made it through like 0.3. I just
Wow.
beat out the last person. So I got that last spot. So that was pretty much what allowed me to get into the college dunk contest on ESPN. And so fast forward to the contest. I did well, came in 3rd, didn't win. But that's what got me discovered by the Globetrotters. And that same weekend, I got my first AT&T deal, and then everything else followed after that. And so when I think about that, I'm like, all that would have never happened. There's no college dunk contest if there's no season. If I got that Nike commercial. So
Yeah. Wow.
the Nike commercial being like, another door that was
Door closed.
face led to the Globetrotters and all of these, dozens of other things that went way further than that commercial could have. So that's
facts.
what happened within that time.
And almost
That's facts. That's what's up. And one thing that's crazy too is that, like, because I remember at Cornell, I think when Ginger had like showed me you, and I like seen your page and I seen you dunking, I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And I'm like, I met you in person. I'm like, well, you about my height.
Phaz capping. Phaz is immediately sizing you up. As soon as he's seen it, I can
I'm
guard.
like, he about my height. I'm like, ain't no way he dunking like that between the legs, behind the back. I'm like, ain't no way. Because I'm like, I'm looking at the videos. I'm like, oh, he like good 6'4".
How tall are you?
Good 6'4", something like that.
I'm about 6 feet.
Okay. It's not too far away. If you've been on
That's
some 5'8" stuff.
So I'm like, you got bunnies for real. Like that's crazy.
Older than you though.
Yeah, they get come out sometimes. But like dunking, I'm like yeah, that was crazy. So that's impressive. But I think overall, like, especially with like say my journey with football, with Eman, with football, it's like all of it has, I think one big thing that I could take out of your journey and my journey and Eman's journey, kind of what he's going through now, is that we're more than athletes as well. That's one thing I definitely wanted to touch on as well, because I think one of the things that frustrates us when these doors are closed, and we got a lot of people that watch this that are athletes, still trying to make it to that next level, still trying to figure out what's going on. But the fact that you were like, okay, the NBA might not be it, but there's still something I can do within the game of basketball. There's still something I can be that is outside of sports at all when it comes down to the art or in a different way, philanthropy, anything like that. I think that stuff is pretty cool too, and very inspiring for sure.
I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, I definitely would say it's beauty in your struggle for sure.
For sure, bro. And I think like sports are a microcosm of, society. So like, and just like life in general. But like one of the benefits of just growing up playing sports is that you learn discipline and you learn how to take an L. Because a lot of people don't really know how to handle a loss or how to bounce back from stuff.
How to work in teams.
Yeah, exactly. Working with other people, like all of that kind of stuff. And so I definitely think like kind of what you were just talking about, Phaz, is the other part of what I was developing in those years between 2016 and when Ridiculousness did that video again. So my senior year as well, my teammate and I, we started a nonprofit called Finance, and it's basically about preparing athletes for the next chapter, of their lives.
Yeah, I think you were telling me about that.
But so yeah, I definitely think like growing up, especially as athletes of color, like our experience is going to be different because there are intersections that we live in. And
Hmm.
more so what I mean by that is like you look at WNBA players, for example, like they're dealing with racism, especially
Yeah.
like the W is mostly black, so doing a lot of racism, a lot of misogyny, and then also they're in the sports realm, which is much more like dominated by men. So there's a lot that they have to deal with, and that comes with a lot of stigmas. So in
Yeah.
my experience, I always felt like people didn't really give us athletes of color like the space to be multidimensional.
Hmm.
Like everybody was always limiting us to the sport that we play. So if if for example, before you started your podcast, if you were to say, yeah, I'm gonna be starting a podcast, people might be looking at you funny, like you a football player, like what are you
Oh,
talking about starting
100%.
a podcast? Like
100%.
and that's the thing that's always frustrated me. So I think kind of growing up with that always in the back of my mind, it definitely has like dictated my direction in terms of like decisions that I make, and kind of the way that I try to use the sport.
Yeah, and that's a gem too, just because like more people don't make it than do make it.
Right,
Oh, say
right.
that. Say that
So it's
again.
like more people don't make it than do make it, right? So it's like, and I feel like a lot of it is like a struggle. It's like something, and like even just with my friends that I grew up with, it's like a hidden thing. Like we don't really, people don't really talk about it so openly, but like when you're doing something or dedicating your life to this thing, or society has put you in this box, like, yeah, this is what you is. You're a football player, basketball player, whatever it is. And it's
Right.
like now when you don't make it there, or now the bills are due, and now you got to figure out what's the next
Yeah.
step. It's like that stuff is hard. That's like a mentally draining, and it does a lot to you. So I think
Yeah.
even when you say posting, like content, for instance, like so I'm posting all this stuff about playing a football player, and then I did it too, because like when I started working in finance, I'm like now I'm posting all this finance stuff. They're like, what? Nobody likes it, not getting the
Yep.
views, no, you know what I mean? But it's like that's a real thing that people go through. So no, I
One
definitely
thing,
agree with that.
one thing I say, and just kind of add on is basically, in a sense, the beautiful thing about this game, the games that we love, the sports that we, grew up playing, and so on and so forth. It teaches you, like you said, life lessons. It teaches you, how to. That's when you first learn how to fail. That's when you first lose. When you first win. When you first experience camaraderie. And when you first find yourself as being truly a part of something that you that's bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
but I say all that because I think I played every sport known to man, like football, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, track, cheer, volleyball. Like try to really find myself to learn more and more and more about myself. And from everything that I did, it basically empowered me to become a better version of myself because everything has taught me something. And one thing I will say that I like, I don't even really like. This is my first time meeting you, my first time hearing your story. But one thing I can understand from how we all identify one another is we all had a dream, and
Yep.
reality hit at some point in that dream, but we didn't let it break us through the lessons that we learned through things that we went through, whether it be sports, and opportunities that may have presented itself, opportunities that did not present itself, shortcomings, accomplishing the goals, falling short, all of that stuff has allowed us to develop into somebody who is either going to persevere and prosper, or somebody who's going to crumble and fold. And it's beautiful to see that, and again, I don't want to rush to the other
No,
element of the person that you are, but to see how you can take something that you're so passionate about, find a new passion in which I would love to kind of understand more about, kind of like where this additional passion that you have for like art started. Did it begin when you were younger?
Mhm.
Was it an outlet for you when things may not have been going well for you in sports, or was it one of those things that you through opportunity discovered about yourself, and so on and so forth? Because I'm doing a lot of upcoming things too, when it comes to like
Okay.
acting. Football has not been you know the ideal route in which I would have liked to have gone, and I'm still very much passionate and love playing the sport, but ultimately
Hmm.
it's time to grow up and venture off. So it's like, just kind of see what that transition was like for you.
Yeah, and then just to caveat that too before you go, Max, I think like the big thing too is that like a lot of people that watch this podcast, they reach out to me, they DM, they hit us up because they're in that same position. And
Yes.
even people who are not in sports, it's like, how do you figure out what it is you want to do in this world? When you're doing something, a job that's unfulfilling, you're
Right.
doing something that you're just punching in and punching out every day, especially in this world where it's like you see all these kids with Mercedes, Maseratis, and all this. Is like you get that type of feeling in your head, like, okay, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. So I'm
Facts.
like, I think that's a very powerful thing and great person to bring on the podcast because it's like you're also
Hey,
still in that realm of basketball, but you're also transition to the art is something you also love too.
Sure. So, y'all are hitting the nail on the head, and I'm gonna give y'all my perspective on what I think, the diagnosis of all of this is. So, first, like right now, we in the age of social media where everybody's comparing themselves to what they see on their timelines, and it's speeding up everybody's process. And in reality, everybody moves at a different pace. Everybody has different circumstances. Even if you come from the same parents, like you could still have different circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's impossible for everybody to start on an even plane. So for anybody watching this, if you comparing yourself to the people on your timeline, like it's not as real or as full as you think it is. So
It's not.
that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think we have to start looking at sports differently. I think like when we're kids, obviously we dream of playing an NBA, playing an NFL, whatever, and it is totally okay to move purposefully with those dreams in mind, and approach and attack those dreams with the best of your ability. But at the same time, as we know, like everybody around here has multiple interests and passions, and
Yeah.
so I've been fortunate enough to just discover like another one of my passions early on. So like art, as you were just bringing up, Eman, art started for me in the 3rd grade. And so
with
it was
the chicken
actually
scratches, the trace joints.
yeah, right. Pretty early on, I already knew like art is something that I thoroughly enjoy creating, consuming, and it's something that I want to be around. To the best of my ability, as I was growing up playing sports, I tried to keep art around. So whether that was in high school when they offered art classes, I would take those. In college, I didn't major in art, but I did take some art courses there as well. I just tried to make sure I found a way to continue to give time to the other things that I'm passionate about.
Big.
I think a lot of athletes, first of all, they don't get the opportunity to discover what those other passions are. If you don't discover it, you're not going to be able to develop it because you don't even know what it is. But by the time it's time for you to put the ball down or step away from the sport, it's a lifestyle change and you don't know where you could pivot because you don't know what else you like. So my first thing would be while you're pursuing this dream of playing in the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, whatever it is, like you a human at the end of the day. Like you at some point you take that jersey off and you enjoy and indulge in other things. So just got to figure out what those things are and cultivate them all at the same time. That's the first thing. The more important thing is that, and this goes back to what I was saying and how we got to change how we look at sports. Sports, it's a tool. It's a vehicle, and it's a tool. It's a key. It's like a door opener, right? So you don't ever have to play in an NBA or in the NFL to get the most out of the sport. And I think that's
big.
one of the things that I've come to appreciate out of my personal journey. Like I was a role player at a Division III school, and like I've been able to put my own dunks in NBA2K. I got my own character in NBA Live.
Yeah, that's
I got a
lit.
chance to college slam dunk contest on ESPN.
You've met hella NBA dudes.
Like
You know what I
I've
mean?
shared spaces with Steph, LeBron, like everybody that you could think of.
Yeah.
In spaces that we would traditionally think would only make sense for somebody who is in the NBA. And I think being able to leverage basketball to open doors and create relationships is what has allowed me to be in some of those spaces or do some of those things. And so that's really the thing that I try to share with, especially with like the younger generation athletes, is like basketball is something, just for me, basketball is something that it draws people together. Like you don't have to speak the same language to hoop with somebody else at the park.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with all sports. Like they're magnetic. They unite people. And if you understand that, then you can figure out how to use that to your advantage. All of the fans that you accrue in your career, even as a high school athlete, even if it stopped there, those are relationships that you can create and hold on to, and leverage further on in your life without ever having to touch the draft or the combine or anything. So I think people really needed to reevaluate like the power that they've already accrued in their career as an athlete, without averaging 30 or playing Division I. Even like there's definitely ways that you could leverage the sport.
Yeah, I think that's huge because that made me just think of something. I remember I was talking to one of my homies from Cornell that I played with, and we were just talking about like how at Cornell, I was so focused on, okay, I'm about to be in the NFL, especially because you're at Cornell, you're in a place where 90% of the guys, especially now, but now we got guys going to NFL. But like before
Yep.
that, I remember it was a meeting. It was like a career day meeting, a career fair for all these top dudes that are top jobs that are coming back, that went to Cornell. They came and he was like, how many of you guys are going to play in the NFL? And we got about 100 dudes on the team. I'm the only one to raise my hand. You know what I mean? So already being in a place with that mindset, like I'm going to be here, I was so locked in on that being my goal.
Yeah.
And then so frustrated when I didn't get drafted, but me and him were having a conversation like, man, like all that football has done for me and that I've done with football, even before the draft, like is a lifetime worth of stuff. Like bringing my mom and some of my family to Cornell University. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Seeing an Ivy League campus.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My mom barely travels, so it's like bringing her there. You know what I mean? And then bringing coaches. I had Cornell, Yale, Princeton, Brown all come to my
Now,
house, sit on the counter, and my mom made dinner for them while we had a
smart.
conversation while they were recruiting me. You know what I mean? And that's one of the best, you stupid. And that's one of the best moments that my mom has. You know what I mean? That's
Right,
one of the
bro.
things she'll talk about to today. Like, oh,
Shout out to
I remember
Unphazed
they
mom.
all came in and doing all that. So it's like a lot of us don't realize how great not the sport has been to us already, or how much we've already done in the sport. Like travel, I've been all over the world because of football. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So no, I definitely, that's a
Exactly that.
huge point that you
Shout
just
out to
made right
sports.
there.
Sports has been able to, bless me with a lot of, relationships. A lot of people don't understand, like, at some point in my life, which I don't want to dive too much into, I was shown a lot of ways of, like, people and nature that, was really heartbreaking to me because I had a lot of people around me who I thought, were there for me truly, but it was a lot of envy, it was a lot of fake love and so on and so forth. But one thing that always stayed true is I always made friends in sports because we could relate to something bigger and we had bigger dreams and we had things that kind of brought us. So I don't know, I'm fortunate, obviously, for one, although my situation was what it was last year, and I may not have gotten to do what I wanted to do on the football field, but I was fortunate enough to meet Phase, and now we got this great platform, this thing that we're trying to build on, and I've been able to find out something that I'm newly passionate about, and I have an opportunity to challenge myself on with new challenges and new endeavors and grow in. So it's super dope to be in this position to be fortunate enough to even like look what the podcast has done for me. Even now, I've been able to meet yourself, and learn about somebody who also had a similar background to mine that I can relate to, but is doing well for themselves and continue to prosper, even though their dreams may not have gone ideally how they thought it would go, but they didn't stop there. So it's super dope. I definitely want to ask, regarding to basketball, art. Obviously these are two things that intertwine. you know, where does the inspiration for yourself come from when it comes to you know, for one, we know basketball. It's, you know, watching the Kobe's, watching LeBron. But for those who haven't seen his art, please go check out his art. Please let them know what your Instagram page is, where they can grab that, or wherever they can see or review your art. But there's a lot of dope pieces on there. There's a lot of pieces that have been mentioned in, you know, awards. I'm sure of it. You know, and you know, been celebrated and been monumental to certain locations. But where did this inspiration start from, and who inspired you to, you know, even tap into that different level?
For sure, bro. I appreciate that. So I think the inspiration first came. So like I said, third grade is when that was like the first time that I really noticed, like, okay, yeah, I really enjoy making art. I had a really good art teacher, and she gave us an activity to basically like draw a image of what we felt like was the like identity or like the theme of the school. And so we all just, you know, sketched some nonsense because we in third grade. And for whatever reason, they picked my sketch and they used it for the yearbook cover. And at that point, I was like,
Oh,
I got a chance to like see, you know, my peers and like people older than me and just in that space react to the cover. And that was the thing that opened me up to like the power that art has. Like it allows people to have conversation. Like well, you know, depending on what you put on a canvas, like you can force people to ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
talk about a certain topic. You could bring awareness and stuff, like all of those different things. So that was like my introduction to the power that art had, and that's what immediately got me hooked. Um, Throughout my journey as an athlete, I didn't play as many sports as you. I did play a bunch of sports, but not as many as you, Iman.
that's what I can do,
And
you
you
know.
do everything.
Like he got like eight sports under his
Hey, he's
belt.
like, I
Hey,
did
man,
this, I
hey.
did pickleball before it
At the
was
end of the day,
even, they even did
you
it.
gotta do it like that because you never know what your future. Ultimately, a lot of sports I played
Right.
was for future endeavors regarding like my children. When I have kids, I don't want no excuses. I did cheer, I did volleyball and all that stuff to basically be able to relate to my daughter if I had one, just so that way it's like
All right. That's what's up,
I don't
bro.
want you don't understand what I'm going through. Like I know I very much definitely
Right.
do. You know, like
Right.
I've been there.
Right.
So if we're
Yeah.
gonna do it, we're gonna do it big. We're gonna be great. So you know,
That's
Come
really
on.
mature of you.
gotta figure out what you're great at.
But yeah, I think like growing up playing, you know, all of those different sports, I've had some great experiences and I've had some experiences that frustrated me in terms of like the stigmas that were constantly placed on Black athletes. And so once I got to point, this is after college, I had an experience in 2020 where I was doing a live TV interview in Birmingham,
Yeah, I
Alabama.
remember that. Yeah.
And, and
What happened at the interview?
these white news anchors started throwing fruit at me on this live segment. So they threw 2 tangerines and a banana at me. And so for anybody watching this episode who doesn't know, there's a long history of throwing bananas at Black athletes, the racial implications behind it, trying to compare us to monkeys, stuff like that. And so eventually I spoke out about the experience, and I got a ton of backlash from people on the internet. I got death threats for like 2 months. People telling me to shut up and dribble, all type of stuff. But the shut up and dribble was the thing that I heard the most. And it connects directly back to those stigmas that I was just talking about. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to take my art, which I was created in private, and start to share it publicly, but use it in a way that I was describing in that yearbook story, where I'm going to make art that forces people to, you know, to talk about these things, ask certain questions, have certain discussions. And that's essentially how this newer chapter of my artistic career and journey was born. Because before I was painting and drawing, and I really wasn't that good with the painting and drawing. And then I was like, I just want to do something totally different, something that's going to communicate to the viewer that this was created by an athlete and that we're multidimensional. And so that's why I use shoelaces and like basketballs and footballs and like
Yeah, I
other
was
sports.
gonna get into that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's
Because like
exactly why.
ultimately, I think you already answered my question, but it was like, you know, I wanted to know why shoelaces, like, because
Oh,
ultimately,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
my lady, you know, she she even was like, "Oh, y'all know him he did this shoelaces." I'm like, okay, so he obviously is a reputable artist. He's just as big of an artist as he is a basketball player.
I
And
appreciate it.
that's when I started scrolling through, and he's like, yeah. And then I seen some things you're doing for like black women and black culture. It's like, man, he really is like his painting is or his painting, his artwork is
For sure.
it even though you're looking at it and you're trying to dissect, okay, what is this composed of, and what makes it
Mhm.
what it is, but you see kind of the emotion through it, and I'm like, okay, like this is
100%.
not just something that somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'm about to just figure out how to be Picasso. Like, no, I put some thought, I put some pain into this, I put some of
Nah,
my own passion into
Yeah,
this.
no, that's
So
a fact. That's a fact, bro. And
nah,
I
for,
appreciate you recognizing that.
for
I
real.
do.
Yeah, and Max, I was gonna say too, like when you told me, like I remember like when we had talked, where you even told me, and I seen the videos, everything about like what happened in Alabama and everything,
Oh,
them
yeah.
throwing fruit at you, and that was crazy. But the crazy thing, like the first thing when you think about like your brother going through that, it's like, dang, Max, I'm sorry that you went through that. I'm sorry
I
that,
appreciate that,
you know what I'm saying? Oh, like I'm sorry that this happened or you were in that position, right? But at the same time, like thankful because now you're in a position now where that inspired you and motivated you to get into art and make
bro.
this art that is
and it's motivating other
inspiring
people.
and helping other people speak out that are in those situations,
Right.
like
For
letting people
sure.
know that like, hey, like this is not cool, like even at
Sure.
any level, you know what I mean,
Yep.
those actions are intolerable. So no, definitely
Yeah.
that's huge.
I appreciate that, bro. And I think that reminds me of another important point and a lesson that I've learned in that whole experience is like there's a difference between a reaction and a response. And like
Whoa, okay.
an example of a
Phase is
reaction.
always so fascinating when something speaks to Phase, it moves him. So
I
caught him off
had to
guard with
look,
that one.
had to
You
take a
might want
sip
you to
on that
say it
one.
back.
Look, had to take a
Play,
sip on
play
that
that
one. I
back.
said I like that one. We're gonna
So
put
like,
that up. What LJ say? We're gonna put that one up.
Right.
oh yeah. Go ahead, click that one up. But no, for real, there's a difference between a reaction and a response. And an example of a reaction, and that experience of mine would have been, me like throwing a banana back at them or swinging on somebody. Like you throw a banana at a black person, there's no telling how they're gonna react.
Mhm.
Um, but
And you're in Alabama.
one, and I'm in Alabama. So that's kind of what a reaction would be. My initial reaction, I feel like for a lot of stuff is like I would prefer to like let time pass and think about it and then respond
Mhm.
versus
Yeah.
do something that's instinctive.
Yeah.
And sometimes when things are instinctive, they lack like thought. Like there's no thought process behind it. It's just
Mhm.
And you
thinking.
almost feed into the stereotype. Like you're
Right. And then they're
reacting
gonna
the
call
way
me an
they would have
angry
wanted
black
you to
man.
react, or you're reacting like the
Right.
animal
Yeah.
they think you are.
Literally. So I decided that I was gonna go back to my hotel. I downloaded the video so I had evidence, and that my response would be creating a collection of art that highlights other professional athletes who use their platform. And
Wow.
so to your point, Phase, I
Mhm.
definitely think that I'm grateful for I definitely had some people in my corner like my aunt. She definitely kind of helped me like talk me off the ledge because there was definitely points where I was like, nah, I'm ready to go crazy on social media. But ultimately the response was way more rewarding than a reaction that lacked any kind of thought would have been. So
Mm.
much so to the point where, yes, like obviously, this was the catalyst for my art to become public and change its direction. But also that's how I met my fiance, like through
Mm.
me
That
creating that
bad.
Good. Get on that
5-minute
knee.
video. So this silver lining in everything. And sometimes it's hard to see, but like, I if you asked me 5 years ago, how do you think you're gonna meet your wife, your soon-to-be wife? I wouldn't tell you, "Oh, I'm gonna meet
Nah.
her through getting a banana thrown at me on live TV." Like, I don't think nobody would say that.
That's your
Nah.
glass slipper, baby.
Right.
That little banana peel get them right.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
Well, you
but
can.
yeah, bro. So
This wasn't even a part of the conversation originally what I had, but Black Love. Let's talk about it because ultimately, the fact that you were able to, meet your fiance in order to pay. I want to know what the artist, that has to be a romantic lane. You know, I know you put together some things, set some things up. How was the
Come on.
proposal? You know, now I need
did.
the scoop. I need the
I
scoop.
did. So it's actually it's a cool story. A little bit of background on my fiance. She's somebody who she reads a lot. Like if she were to go to a museum, you know, we're two different types of people in a museum. So she'll go and read every single plaque on the wall. She'll just go one by one and read everything. I'm only walking to what I'm drawn to. If the room I'm in right now, let's say there's 10 paintings on the wall, and 2 of them, I'm like, oh, that catches my eye. I'll go look at it and read about it. Versus Jasmine, how she will, from start to finish, read everything.
Start to finish, she's like, I'm here. I'm getting this.
No,
everything.
we didn't get this one yet. I need to see what it's talking about.
Right. And so sometimes we'll leave a museum and she'll be like, yeah, did you see the blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, I didn't.
Nah, I didn't see that one. I missed that one.
Thank you for seeing it.
Catch my eye. But I say all that to say we spend a lot of time in museums. And so one day I met this lady who works at a museum in Louisville when we were living in Cincinnati. And she's the chair of the museum. And she was like, let me know if you ever need anything. And normally when people say that, you know, I just be like, okay, yeah, but I know like I'm never going to actually. But in this particular time, I was like, actually, I could use your help. And so my idea was because I already knew I was going to create a collection of art around Jazz and my fiance. And so I was like, I want to see if I can display one or some of those pieces in an actual museum and see if we can, like on a random museum tour, she can like see her piece in a museum.
Wow. Yeah,
and so so the lady from the museum helped me to bring she helped me to bring that to life. I brought the piece to the museum the day before. Hired like a undercover camera crew to follow us from a distance. I got mic'd up in the bathroom so that like, you know, like the mic is like under my suit so you can still hear what I'm saying. And so we took a whole museum tour. And then when we got to her piece, that's
you
when
knew she was gonna read it. You knew she was gonna get to it.
So,
what's this right here?
Yeah. She ain't even read it first. That's what's funny because there was no text next to it. It was just like it was a pretty big piece, but it's a combination of shoelaces and then some of her dresses that she wore, like because she's a news anchor. So some of the dresses that she wore on air, and so she looks at it and then she slaps me on the shoulder and she's like, "Yo, Max, somebody's stealing your shoelace style."
Somebody like. We need to trademark this.
She looked at it. She's like, "Yo, like somebody's stealing your style." And then she looked again, because it's like 3 versions of her face on there. And then she looked, and then you could see like it starting to register in her head. And I was like, "Okay, now I'm gonna get on a knee." But of course, I fumbled a little bit because I looked on Google. I Googled to see if there was like a correct knee to get to kneel on, and Google said like the left knee, right? So let's say
double taking the knees. Oh no!
Oh, I did a split squat, bro. I halfway my right knee and then changed knees mid kneel.
Oh my god!
I was so nervous, bro.
She said, "Are you working out? You getting a workout in real quick?"
Are we lunging here?
She was so like,
in the moment.
Noticed that, but yeah, that was the story, bro. So
man, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
I appreciate it.
and now we are. Dun, 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 dun. What's the wedding, man? I know it's gonna be all type of ice sculptures out that joint. All type of doves flying out of boxes.
Come on now.
Come on now. Picasso. This is Picasso's wedding.
Picasso.
That's dope. But I mean, speaking of pieces like that, I mean, you could only think, you know, like a piece like that has to be in the favorites. What's the favorite piece? Like when you think about all the artwork you've made and you've created over the years since you've been, you know, doing this. What's I ain't gonna put too much pressure on you. Initially, I was gonna say, what's your favorite piece? But give me at least a top 3. What's the like? I was really in my bag when I was doing that. You know.
I think there's probably 2 pieces that really stand out to me, or that mean a little bit more to me. The first one.
Pace, can we pull that up? Can we clip that up?
I was gonna rank some of my top ones too, Max.
Oh,
So
I'm always curious.
no, but you hit it because this is my favorite because I'm a big Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean?
Now,
Let me share this. I'm trying to pull this up because that's definitely my favorite one.
while
Like
he's
one of
getting
my
that
favorite ones.
pulled up, I want you also thinking because I'm curious to see back to that inspiration question. What's some of your favorite artwork from other artists? That's hard though.
I
ain't no sound on this one, but look, this is
That's
bro.
hard.
So it goes from Ali from one perspective to Cap.
Oh my
taking
God. That might be. I didn't even see too many yet. I was just getting good.
Well, look at it again.
That's clean. For y'all who don't know, we're standing in the presence of Black Picasso here.
And I wanted to ask
the
too,
Tupac
like
of the art industry.
even with this though, like where did I'm not gonna say like inspiration, but like just to do this because there's one thing, like if you think about it, right?
That is
Third
dope,
grade, you did the yearbook, got the yearbook picture. So you went from that to this. Like, what even got you motivated to like, okay, I'm going to create this type of art?
Like my whole like intention at this point, I was like, every piece, of course, gonna be intentional, but like every piece has to be about like being multi-dimensional. And like that's like the theme that I was trying to communicate through everything. Like athletes were multidimensional, and these pieces are going to be multidimensional, whether it's through like
that's deep,
different perspectives or like different mediums and stuff like that. For this piece in particular, like I got to give credit where credit is due. And there's a French artist. His name is Matthias. I forgot his last name, but he's the first person that I've seen do like multi-dimensional wire sculptures. And he would do them out of like animals. So he would do like an elephant and like a giraffe or something like that, which is super dope. But with the direction in mind that I already had in terms of like drawing a direct, comparison between Ali and his generation and Cap and his generation, I was like, I would like to honor them in that particular way.
Shout out to Cap, man. Baby. My brother, man.
So did you already know how to do that?
Right.
Or did you have to, was that like a whole nother, go ahead.
It took me like 2 months to figure it out.
Wow.
Dedication. But yeah, that's just one. That's the only time I've ever done like a wire sculpture like that. And it's probably the only time I will, because as great as it came out, again, like
hard to follow that up.
I think
you can only do Jesus and the Lord next. That's the only thing that beats that.
No, I'm just saying, like it's a style that I'm kind of paying homage to another artist through. And so I just want to respect, the boundaries there. And like Matthias, which is the artist I was talking about, like he's the first person that I've seen do like that, like anamorphic wire sculpture style. And so I want to make sure that I'm respecting his lane in that way. I just thought it was
Matthias.
Yeah. I just thought it was a great way to like draw the comparison between those two particular athletes.
And I think that's a huge point. Like I didn't even think about that. Like when you think about art, it's like you paying homage to him and the type of art that he focuses in. But in the other end, it's like you now have your own lane of like what you do. Because I'm not like really huge into art, but I'm sure like what you do is very unique to you. No, like I'm not saying like the shoelaces or whatever it is. Like somebody else probably have done something like that, but it's like the way you do it and then the meaning behind it is like no one else is doing that.
And you're black.
I mean that's real, but also like I do think like the context really does. I mean, context always matters, but like fortunately, I'm still in my like career as a pro athlete of some sort. So I do think that it adds a whole different perspective versus some, a non-athlete who was using sports equipment for their stuff. It's like there's just several more layers that I'm personally able to offer through my experience, through my stories. And I think that's why it means a little bit more to me in my experience using the sports equipment.
I love that.
So
100%. And
That's-
I remember,
that's
I want to
dope.
say this too. I don't know if I ever got to tell you too, but like when we came to Art Basel, that was like that. Like I said, I'm not into art. I'm not
It's Art
into
Basel.
like that. It's like a big art show, one of the biggest art show in Miami. They do it every year.
Come on now.
But coming there, like, cause I mixed it. I was like, I'm gonna kill two birds in one stone. I'm Mama, we're gonna celebrate your birthday down there too.
right. I remember
And
that. I remember.
that's one of the things that like she still to this day talks about. She's like, oh, let me see that picture there, bro. So that was definitely an amazing experience. And just that I'm bringing that up because like we appreciate you for inviting us there and letting us be a part of that experience and seeing that. But on the flip side, one of the things that really stuck out to me and kind of motivated me to even motivated the vision that I have for the podcast is I don't know what you call it, like the interview or the talk that you had there with some of the WNBA players. The panel, yeah, panel with some of the WNBA players there and Jasmine. I think that having the art as well as that, like really tied a lot of things in and motivated me for the podcast because I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want people to come on to talk about their stories. I want to talk about the inequities in the world, to bring light to some things that a lot of people aren't bringing light to. So give some people the platforms that may not be given the platforms, man. So I think that is huge, man. I wanted to say thank you for that because that was a motivation. But also talking a little more, we talked about it earlier, your ties like with the WNBA, because I know you know a lot of people in the WNBA, you worked with them and things like that as well. There
Come
we
on
go.
now.
Come on. I
Hey,
need
that's
one of
fly.
them. I
Hey, they
need
on
one
the
of them.
up
I gotta
level,
get one of
trying to tell
them.
you every episode is
Yeah.
something new, baby.
I'm telling you, and this is a big like we support the WNBA hard here. Like you got to go check out some of the past episodes. Like we did, you did, Pete. Yeah, we made a Caitlin
Got a
Clark
Caitlin
song.
Clark
We like,
mixtape out right now.
come
Y'all go
on,
get that.
yeah, come on, yeah. So that's definitely like we're big there, man. So you could even talk about like some of the people like or like just your experience with the WNBA in general.
First of all, bro, I really appreciate the words you just shared, bro. I think like what y'all doing right now is phenomenal, and I think we need more spaces that are much better representing like athletes, whether they're current. Because Phaz, like you're still currently playing, but like all of the different like levels or like points in our lives as athletes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think we need a better representation of like the dialogue that we have, because anytime there's a bad headline about an athlete, like it gets, especially if they're Black, it's gonna get like ran a million times over. Versus stuff like a platform like this, like all the great light that you guys shed on positive stories and other athletes and stuff like that. You have to work 10 times harder to get the same recognition as that bad headline that I was just talking about. So I definitely want to give y'all your flowers while you're here for that.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Definitely honored to be a part of this. But in terms of the W, like I've definitely gotten a chance to like establish some really good relationships with current players, former players. Like Natasha Cloud is a good friend. Isabel Harrison, which is Tasha's partner and now teammate. They both play on the Liberty. Another good friend. They both were at that show during Basel. Some former players like Jantel Lavender. She doesn't play anymore. I've been in contact with Renee Montgomery. She's like part owner of the Atlanta Dream.
Wow.
Yeah, I think like my
city, man.
I think like the WNBA players are the WNBA in general is the league that sets the best example for how leagues should conduct themselves, like in terms of addressing injustices, the stances that they take, the timing in which they respond to like real life issues that are happening. They're
That's a big
always the
point.
ones that are kind of setting the standard, and then everybody else kind of falls behind them.
That's a big point.
That was always something that I admired. But then also when you couple that with the fact that what I was talking about earlier in regards to how the WNBA as a whole, they deal with more bullshit than any other league like combined, because not only are they dealing with racism, but they also dealing with misogyny and people constantly poo-pooing the sport that they play. And they're mixing all of those like societal stigmas on the players, and it's getting in the way of seeing the actual talent that's on the court.
And I agree with that, Max, because I think even on one of the pods last season where we were talking about that, like we were talking about it and just like the societal thoughts around like the WNBA and things like that. It's like how like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, all these people that made the WNBA big, but it's like they didn't make it big because it's like this championship, the WNBA championship, this was like one of the most viewed ever or whatever it is. I'm like, they've been doing that. We just not watching. You know what I mean? So it's like whatever, like Caitlin Clark and all them that maybe brought some more attention to it or whatever it is. But it's like we're watching the game, and I'm wrong for this too, because I'm like, man, maybe that it's not as competitive as the WNBA, or it's not as this, or they not. But no, I'm like, I'm actually sat down and watched. I'm like, bro, this is interesting. Like they're hooping, like they're playing.
One
You know
thing
what I
I
mean?
will
So I
say,
even felt that too.
to add on to that, like, no, for sure, I feel like the beautiful thing is this has been going on for years, but I'm not even gonna say just recently, but the fact that the attention just recently has been shifting their direction, they have not disappointed one bit. Like the fact that the eyes have came that direction and they are really balling, they really playing ball. They're really it's like they had an opportunity. Like, okay, we'll come over here for a second. This is gonna be the two, but it's like it's amped up the league. And like first of all, I don't know if y'all seen it. The league is gonna go crazy because this has increased their attributes on another level too. I didn't see girls people getting dunked on now, so it's getting serious now. Like they not playing no more. They out here hooping like they with the guys for real. So you know what I'm saying. And yes, there is that conversation as of now, and we talk about it like, oh no, y'all be crazy to think there's any girl in WNBA that can say. But in a couple years, that conversation is going to shift. There might be some women in the WNBA that really can ball against some of them NBA players and really put up a good fight. So the conversations,
I'm sure they can now.
Basketball's getting more entertaining for sure.
Right. I also think, like, honestly, the crazy like rhetoric that we hear about the WNBA players, it's not really coming from the NBA players themselves. It's coming from the people that don't even hoop.
That don't hoop.
It's coming from the Emans.
From the random people on the internet.
Yes.
They can't guard nobody. They can't
nobody.
guard. They can't guard the Angel. They can't guard nobody. Like,
no.
They don't know what we're talking about. Like, I just hate hearing like some of the craziness that people say about the W players. But yeah, bro. So I just think like I definitely have an eye for platforms that shed a certain kind of light. Because if you're talking about anything, you're shedding light on it. But it also depends on how you're talking about it.
Yes.
And that's why I'm saying certain kind of light. So you could shed the deserved light on the W, or you could be like some of these other platforms, and although they're giving them attention, it's because they're saying the craziest things you could think of, like women deserve to be in the kitchen and cooking and cleaning and not hooping and
Max so hip. He ain't called it the WNBA one time. The W, nickname the league. They out here going crazy in the W. I'm like, the W. The NBA? They're like, no, we're not doing the NBA. We're doing the W. That's
the nickname for it, bro. But yes, I'm saying all that to say, like, y'all definitely doing it right in terms of how y'all bring light to
just to jump on kind of what you said too. Like, ultimately, like you said, we do gotta go 10 times harder just to even get what would be our positive light on the WNBA. Again, and that's just unfortunately the psychology of human nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it started from even when we were kids. You can bring home a report card with 4 A's and 1 F. We always gonna focus on that 1 F more because it's
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
it's something that's negative that may grab, you know, the attention more. Like, this is where you need improvement, or this is where the negativity is, and it's just so
Good
much
point.
more attracting than appreciating the things that we are doing well, and really showing the same type of, hey, yes, all of that F, there's a lot of challenges and progression in that you need to bring
Yeah.
up. But even within those A's, you can see progression and growth, you know. So it's like to like, there's a lot of great podcasts, like, and me and Phaz, I definitely feel like we pride ourselves on that. This is a place of positivity, a place of energy, a place of love on this platform. So it's like, you know, we are going to bring up the topics that need to be talked about, but you know, that's not the type of, you know, men we are. You know, we are trying to
Right,
make
right,
this
right.
Moti-tainment, so that way people can come and, you know, get away from something they may be trying to escape. They may be looking for some positivity. So the fact that, you know, we are trying to continue to push and make sure that
Mhm.
message and that information is met, you know, with the right tone and energy is, you know, big to have you recognize that. So,
Sure, bro.
but you know, ultimately with yourself, you know, wrapped around this great episode in which we've been having, you know, what's the long term and short term goals for Mr. Mac? You know, what's coming up next? Where do we take this basketball thing? Where do we take this art thing? Where do we go with this whole idea of, you know, yourself?
Great question.
Yeah. I think that is a great question. I think first, like, art is gonna be a permanent thing in my life. Like, until I can't create anymore, I'm not gonna
You
create.
can't retire from that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's
Like,
drill art going
you could
in the 90s.
you can make art way longer than, you know, you could run and jump and dunk. So, you know, that'll be my long-term thing. And, you know, I'm always going to create with the intention of trying to bridge the gap and show the next generation of athletes that you can, like, you could leverage your sport to get what you want out of life without having an average 30 or play Division 1 or play in the NBA or whatever. So that's kind of like my main like driver, like that's like my compass in terms of what direction I'll be going in. Outside of that, you know,
Anything big coming up? What we got?
I'm
I'm
getting
trying to get
married
the
in
scoop. What's next? What's the
I'm,
big stuff?
I'm getting married in 12 days, so that's big. And then but yeah, so I just moved to DC. So I'm
Okay.
happy to be out here, and I have a lot of exhibitions coming up in the DC area, in New York, and then also in the A.
Hey,
Come
So
on.
yeah, that's where I'm at.
so I don't know what Phase got left for you regarding his question. I got two more that I'm really just like, I got to get these in.
Yeah,
Get him
whatever.
out. Get him out. E.
They stay short and sweet, and they rock really questions. But one thing I just want to make sure, you know, I'm a big, like I said, big on positivity. First and foremost, one, do we get to see, you know, an unfazed piece or sculpture in our future? Is there something you can bring,
Oh,
something we can showcase for the platform? I would love to have
yeah, because
something.
you got to fix
Because,
that
you know, when we
background.
get
He got
back
to
in
fix his
person, the studio
background.
gonna be set. We need something.
Yeah, he needs something for him. Just get something for him, but something small for that little brick you got back there.
Oh, I
Calendar.
got y'all.
For
Just
sure.
that logo is fire, and it's super easy to do and lace it. So I got you. Don't even worry about that.
For sure. Definitely be dope to have something like that when we get back in person. We start shooting this thing back side by side.
You know
But
Mac's
just
gonna be
to,
back. He gonna gotta be back. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure,
whenever.
for sure.
Y'all just let me know.
And then, you know, lastly, you know, for myself, and, you know, I'll let Mr. Unfazed himself do his thing. And I guess I'll pop it off too, because, you know, I like to, you know, one thing we like to do is push motivation and positivity and promotion. But I'll leave, you know, this episode has been full of just a lot of positive information, a lot of, you know, motivation, a lot of success, a lot of dreams and goals. And, you know, I definitely would love you to share a quote that speaks to you. I guess I'll go first with mine, you know. But what I have for my people today, and there's so
What you
many of them.
got?
I have a list, so I'm going through, but there's one I really want to share with you. It says, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." And at the end of
Mm,
the day, y'all don't stop dreaming. You know what I'm saying? So although one dream may not, you know, come to fruition the way you want to, you continue to dream and continue to push. So
hmm
I
I
got
like
that.
that.
And that's
Come on.
right on brand from what we were talking about all day.
Literally, in the Unfazed podcast, like A lot of people like it's a play on words in my name, of course, but the unfazed is one of those things where it just like hit me. Like when I thought about it, it's like, okay, unfazed, like what does that mean? Um, Kind of connect everything back to my mom, just like what does unfazed mean? How did she raise me to not worry about kind of what's going on in the world, all the
Mm.
nonsense, getting too caught up with social media, getting too caught up in just anything, or even yourself sometimes we get too caught up in our head and everything like that. So how do we stay unfazed? How do we stay in our own lane? How do we stay connected to God? How do we stay all these things? So I think what I'm gonna start doing is like asking the guests, ending it like, how do you stay unfazed in
Mm.
this world? You know what I mean? There's a lot going on. Like, what things are you doing to stay unfazed?
So let us get one of your favorite quotes and how you stay
Yeah,
unfazed.
I could answer the both of those things with the same quote that I'm actually going to
Mm,
circle back to, which is response is always going to be stronger than a reaction. So like just life in general, I feel like
like
life,
that.
like the
That's
the
big.
theme of life is it's always something. Like just when when you think you finally gotten through, a certain set of trials and tribulations, is going to be a new set for you to get
Yes.
through. Um, Now I think like the way that you deal with it is truly how you're going to experience it. So I just kind of want to remind people of that, especially a lot of the people I'm sure who are watching this pod are going to be like athletes or like sports adjacent. So you can't be discouraged when you start getting some adversity, or when you hear a no. You're going to hear a million no's. Um, you're going to hear 25% yes and 75% no. But it's
Yeah.
all about how you respond, because your response is what is going to allow you to get to that next yes. So that would probably be I know that's a long
That's
quote,
huge. Nah, nah,
Oh no,
nah. I'm
smooth. That's
messing
how
with.
you
I
stay
like it.
unfazed for sure. It's about the
but,
response, baby.
but right. And that's what I was about to say. Like, I think it directly connects with being unfazed. Like, a
Yeah.
phased person is going to react instinctively. They're not going to think before
Exactly.
they. And although they might be within every single one of their rights to react the way
Hmm.
that they would, it's probably going to be more powerful for them to pause, and even if it's for a few minutes, and think about, how do I want to respond to this? Like, what do I want to get out of the way that I'm responding?
Nah,
Whereas, like,
that's big. That's big, man. Nah, I definitely appreciate it. And the last thing I'll say too is that, like, what that made me think of too, and just for all the people that are watching from everywhere, it was crazy. I was looking at the statistics. We got people in Bangkok, some people in England. Like we had a few downloads in England. I'm like, okay. So the people that see this episode, you know what I mean? It's a big episode. I appreciate you for coming on. And I think one of the things is like that you were saying is like, don't be afraid to fail either. You know what I mean? In finding the passion, in finding what you want to do. Don't be, and I said this on one of the episodes last season too, but I want to emphasize this to everybody. Don't be too cool. You know what I mean? Don't be too cool that you don't try things, or that you let what other people think or how other people view you affect the way that you move in life. Because 1,000% of the time, you're going to regret that. Because the regret doesn't come from doing something, it comes from not doing something.
yep.
You know what I mean? So I definitely want to lead the people with that. And Max, like I said, brother, I appreciate you. Iman, you already know what it is. We're
Well,
gonna hit
no,
them with
shout
an
out to you, Max, man.
stay unfazed, man.
Dope
Everybody,
episode.
stay
Yes,
unfazed.
sir.
We appreciate
Hey,
y'all. Oh, wait, last thing too, Max. Let them know where to find you on Instagram. We got
Facts.
the Art of the
oh,
Athlete website to check out the art and all that. Make sure we get them all that.
My personal stuff at Maxwell Pearce on all platforms, and then just the art is the Art of an Athlete. So the Art of an Athlete on IG, theartofanathlete.com is the website. I don't think we have YouTube for the Art of an Athlete yet.
Yeah.
It's
So
coming.
yeah,
Y'all stay locked in. It's coming.
it's coming. Yeah, it's
Stay
coming.
locked in. But y'all can check all that out. We're gonna link all that in the bio right here. Make sure y'all comment your favorite part, like, subscribe, hit
Sure.
that notification button. Stay unfazed. We out of here, man.
I'm unfazed.